The ocean didn't care about bloodlines or enemies. It swallowed everyone the same. When the ruthless Mafia Boss dove into the freezing water that night, he didn't know the girl he was saving was his enemy's daughter. But when he pulled her into his arms, gasping for air, he didn't just save her life. He signed his own fate. Because debts in the underworld are never forgotten, especially the kind paid with a heartbeat. The storm came without mercy, the kind that swallowed the night whole. Rain hammered against the docks, waves slammed into the wooden posts, and the air smelled of salt and gasoline. Luca Moretti stood there, cigarette between his fingers, coat whipping in the wind, his mind burning hotter than the lightning above. He was supposed to be celebrating a deal tonight, one that would expand his empire, but instead, someone had betrayed him. One of his men was dead and another was missing. Rage pulsed through his veins like poison, and he came to the harbor to think, or maybe to destroy something before he destroyed himself. The wind howled across the pier, drowning every sound, until a scream cut through it like glass. Luca froze, the cigarette falling from his lips. It wasn't the kind of scream that came from a fight or a threat. It was raw, terrified, human. He turned sharply toward the sound, his boots splashing through puddles, eyes scanning the dark waves. For a moment he saw nothing, then a flash of red near the end of the pier, arms flailing before disappearing beneath the surface. For a second he hesitated. He wasn't a hero. He was a man who ordered deaths, not rescues. But something, maybe instinct, maybe guilt, made his heart lurch forward. He ran. Without thinking, he tore off his jacket and dove into the freezing black water. The cold hit him like 1,000 blades, stealing his breath, but he forced himself deeper, searching through the current. His lungs screamed for air when his hand brushed against something, fabric, hair, skin. He grabbed hold and kicked upward with all his strength. When they broke the surface, she wasn't moving. Her head lolled against his shoulder, her lips blue, her pulse faint. "Come on!" he growled, dragging her toward the dock. The storm didn't care. It tried to pull them both under. But Luca fought it like he fought everything else, violently, stubbornly, until finally he hauled her onto the wooden planks, collapsing beside her. She looked lifeless, her face ghost pale under the flashes of lightning. He pressed his palms to her chest, forcing the water from her lungs until she gasped, coughing violently, her eyes fluttering open. For the briefest second she met his gaze, frightened, disoriented. And in that instant, the world around them seemed to go silent. She was young, no older than her early 20s, delicate features framed by soaked dark hair. Around her neck, a small silver necklace caught the light, engraved with a name that hit him like a bullet. Elena Romano. His chest tightened. Of all the people in this cursed city, he had just saved the daughter of Marco Romano, his sworn enemy, the man who had murdered his brother and turned his blood into vengeance. He sat back, breathing hard, torn between disbelief and fury. Every instinct screamed to walk away, to let the storm finish what it started. But he couldn't. He shrugged off his shirt and wrapped it around her shoulders, his movements rough but protective. She trembled, her eyes half open, whispering weakly, "Who are you?" Luca stared down at her, rain streaming down his face, his voice low and cold. "Someone you'll wish you never owed." Then he stood, fading into the shadows of the storm, leaving her shivering and alive, and completely unaware that her savior was the devil her father feared most. The next morning, the storm was gone, but its damage lingered across the city. Fallen trees, flooded streets, broken glass glinting under the pale sun. At the Romano estate, chaos ruled. Guards rushed in and out, voices raised, phones ringing non-stop. Elena sat on a couch, wrapped in a thick blanket, her hair still damp, her hands trembling around a cup of tea she could barely hold. Everyone around her moved like soldiers preparing for war. Her father, Marco Romano, stormed into the room, his sharp suit soaked at the collar, his jaw tight with fury. "Who did this?" he demanded, his voice echoing off the marble walls. "Who was supposed to be with her?" One of the guards stammered, "Sir, we lost track of her car when it skidded off the road. It was raining. Visibility was low." "Enough." Marco roared, slamming his fist against the table. My daughter almost died. And you're giving me excuses? Elena flinched, her fingers tightening around the cup. Papa, please. It wasn't their fault. I lost control of the car. He turned to her, eyes softening for just a heartbeat. You shouldn't have been driving alone, Elena. You know it's not safe. She looked away, ashamed, but her mind wasn't on the accident. It was on him. The man who had dragged her from the water, his grip strong and unyielding, his voice low and steady, even as the storm tried to drown them both. She could still feel the warmth of his jacket, the way his gaze burned through the rain. Whoever he wasn't just some passerby. There was power in his eyes, the kind of power that didn't belong to ordinary men. That night, long after her father's men stopped pacing the halls, Elena stood by her bedroom window, watching the waves crash against the distant docks. Who are you? She whispered to the darkness. Across the city, Luca Moretti sat in his office, a single lamp casting light over the papers spread across his desk. His wet jacket from the night before still hung over the back of a chair. He hadn't told anyone what happened, not even his right-hand man. Saving the daughter of his worst enemy was not something he could explain. He'd built his life on revenge, on the promise that Marco Romano would pay for every drop of blood his family had lost. And yet, when he'd seen that girl drowning, he hadn't thought of vengeance. He'd only thought of saving her. He poured himself a glass of whiskey, staring at the amber liquid before taking a long, slow sip. Elena Romano, he muttered under his breath. You shouldn't exist in my world. But she did, and worse, she now carried a debt to him. In his world, debts were everything, and Luca Moretti never let one go unpaid. He leaned back, eyes dark, a faint smirk ghosting across his lips as thunder rolled in the distance. I'll collect my debt later, he murmured, almost to himself. But in his tone was something new, something dangerous. Not hate, not vengeance, something far more unpredictable. And somewhere deep down, he knew that saving her hadn't just changed her fate, it had changed his.